Hi guys, today we're going to be doing a little planting. I know it feels like we haven't done much planting late summer, and there is a reason for that. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, the vegetable garden kind of took off, so it required a lot more attention this year because there were just so many different factors: drought, heavy rains, heat, humidity. So we had to give a little bit of attention to the vegetable garden this year, more so than normal. And then secondly, I have been leaving this one bed over here alone. The bed that we have, the junior giant arborvitaes, I haven't planted hardly anything in this bed. And the reason is that Mo's gonna be coming in here probably in the next few days or a week, depending on his schedule. And he's gonna be working on the drainage, and we're gonna be working on the grading. We have some fill dirt that's supposed to come in the next couple days, and he has got this whole area mapped out for drainage. So you can see right along the fence line, we've got PVC pipes, we've got catch drains. He's got garden stakes over here as markers for where things are going. So he is going to be trenching right behind the arborvitaes, right along the fence line. He's going to be making a trench and adding some catch drains and PVC pipe all the way along the fence line until we get to right about here. And then he's just going to angle it and turn it and tap into this catch drain here, which will then flow under the gate, under the grass, under the sidewalk, and then it pops out right before the curb. So that is what we have been planning to fix the drainage here. So I have pretty much I've left this whole area alone because there's no point in planting if we may potentially have had to move and shift things. Now we already came in earlier, well, like a few weeks ago. We came in and we removed a bunch of daisies. I think I had a tiny wine 9 bark. So we did kind of clear the path for potentially extending the swale upwards, but we decided to hold off on that and just monitor this once we have the drainage put in. So that's pretty much the story for this whole back bed butterfly garden here. But since we're here, I've got to show you the Flavorette paired rose. Look at this thing. It is gorgeous. It is covered in blooms. A lot of them are spent or on the way out, but there's just so many. Look, we got a honeybee over here. Aww. But it's just pumping out more and more blooms. We've got buds over here. Look at this. This is what a new flower looks like. It's so pretty. And they smell so good. And look, we have new buds forming up, getting ready to open. And there's quite a few. There's like 3 on these. They don't need to be deadheaded, but I could come in and clean them up. But they're just so beautiful. From the bottom all the way to the top. I am absolutely in love with the Flavorette paired rose. I also want to stop and show you this. The sunflowers that we planted late summer, look at them. They've opened and the bees have found them. And these are just such a beautiful pop of color. So we've got them on each end of the berry bed. We have another one over here. Look at this. And they're just so cheerful. And look, we have a little bumblebee just kind of napping, a little rest. But I think they're just so pretty and they kind of just add a little pop to the berry beds. By the way, the berry beds are doing really well too. Everything seems to be pretty happy. Strawberries are looking good. Raspberries are sending out some new shoots. So are the blueberries. So yeah, this whole area looks pretty good too. And one of our neighbors is having new siding put in. So if you hear banging in the background, that's what's happening. So anyway, so that's the reason why I haven't been doing a lot of planting around that whole area, because there just didn't seem like any point to doing it, because I just didn't know. I didn't know the trajectory of the downspout, or not the downspouts, but the catch drains, the PVC piping, etc. So I just figured, you know what? Let's just leave it as is. We've already moved a few things. If we have to move a few other things so Mo can get in there, I'm happy to do it. But I just I didn't want to plant something and then find out a few weeks later, oh, we got to dig it up real quick. So I just kind of just left that area alone this whole season. But now we are going to be focusing on this retaining wall flower bed, specifically the slope, because it looks honestly like a hot mess. So looking back from the gate by the vegetable garden, you can see that we've got this mulch path over here because this is eventually going to be a future walkway. Not a formal one, just some flagstones popped in here, there, and everywhere. We just don't know, again, we don't know the path. We may come in and cut out some more grass and move it over a little bit, which means we'll have a little bit more planting area over here. But I did come in last year and I planted a couple of the cotoneasters, which are spreading out really nicely, you guys. I'm really happy with these. These are such a low maintenance. You don't do anything with them. Just let them do their thing. Water them and they're good to go. I brought out our hydrangea rescue, which hasn't really done much of anything. And I don't know exactly where I want to put it, so I think I have a friend coming to pick that up. But as we go towards the sidewalk and towards the slope, this is where it kind of gets a little janky. I mean, the verbena, beautiful as it is, took off. This thing is 3 feet wide and it just completely smothered out. It smothered out a couple of the sedum that we have here. So you see we've got the sedum over here, and there was one over here, or two, and that's completely gone. We had a blue star juniper, which never really took off. It just it struggled quite a bit. And if I can move the verbena, good googly. You can see it's just not looking really healthy, and I don't know what's going on with it. So I'm gonna pop that out. I'm gonna pop the verbena out. I'm gonna take the sedum out and this sedum as well, because if you look at it from a distance, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be pretty to have a few different things here, there, and everywhere, but it just looks completely disorganized. So I decided I'm gonna clear it all out with the exception of the plumbago. Those are gonna stay, but we're gonna remove all the sedum, the verbena, the blue star juniper. Cotoneasters are staying, so it's this whole section right here. And we're gonna come in with a little bit more plumbago, and then we've got some ajuga right in the front. I figured we're on a slope, it's close to the sidewalk, it's not a huge planting area, it's about 8 to 10 feet right now. And again, that could shift a little depending on the path. But I realized that planting a bunch of different varieties of things kind of just made it look like a big, huge jumbled mess. So I decided I'm just gonna come in with a little bit more plumbago and some ajuga, just 2 different varieties of ground covers, and create a small little drift and just let them fill in, because that'll also help with soil erosion because we're on a little bit of a slope. So when it rains, the mulch tends to want to kind of wash away a little bit. And that's the beauty of ground covers. And honestly, anything can be a ground cover if it's planted in mass. There's no like, oh, it has to be a certain height or a certain width. Not in my case, I don't believe that, because I've got, and I'll show you in a minute, but I've got some Burgundy Glow Ajuga that we're going to be planting today. It is gorgeous, but it only gets 4 to 6 inches tall, probably a little bit taller when it blooms, and it spreads out about 12 inches. If you plant it in mass, it looks beautiful, it covers the soil, and hence it's a ground cover. But you could also get other things that do the same thing. There's the low scape mound aronia that gets 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, and you can plant that in mass and it'll do the same thing. It'll cover the ground. So again, anything can pretty much be a ground cover. We've got, you know what? Let me show you. We've got some creeping thyme right over here by the hose link in our front flower bed. And I planted that around a couple of stepping stones and it kind of just took off. Right where we just planted the green tower boxwood, we've got a couple stepping stones that lead to the spigot over here. And then right over here, we've got the creeping thyme, and you can see it just does exactly that. It creeps all over, it softens the stones, and it, most importantly, covers the ground, which prevents weeds. So while I do like the look of mulch, I also can appreciate ground covers, especially when they're low growing like the creeping thyme or the Ajuga, because sometimes you just don't want to see mulch. I'd rather see green, and especially different shades of green or different muted colors of maroons and creams with potential blooming flowers. That to me is much prettier than just mulch. Here's what we're going to be planting today. I got a couple more of the Plumbago, which are desperately in need of some water, so we'll water them in a second. But there just is nothing like these true blue flowers. And these bloom late summer. They come out at the beginning of summer and then they start blooming, and they bloom their heads off until the frost kind of nips them. What's pretty about these is in the fall, all of the foliage just completely turns to a bright red. So you have multi-seasons of interest. They do die back a little bit in the winter. I think the first year I planted the other ones over there, I think they died back completely to the ground. So I don't think these are considered evergreen, except possibly if you're in warmer climates. Now, these grow 10 inches tall, 18 inches wide, and they're hardy down to zone 5. So I think the colder the zone you are, the less likely that you're going to have this be an evergreen or a semi-evergreen. And then we have the Burgundy Glow Ajuga, which, I mean, isn't that beautiful? Even without these purpley blue blooms, the foliage alone is gorgeous. We've got maroons with tinges of pink and greens and creams. It's like a tricolor. It's like a tricolor of foliage. And when you see it in mass, I mean, look at that. It's gorgeous. So these, if memory serves me correctly, are hardy in zones 3 through 9. And depending on what source you pick up, they say they can handle full sun all the way down to shade. Now these have been in pretty much full sun and they're looking pretty good, but they're just beautiful. Absolutely love these. And these are considered a evergreen, depending on your zone. The higher the zone, the more likely it's going to be an evergreen or a semi-evergreen. We're in zone 7B, so I'm hoping that these stay evergreen because I think it would be beautiful to have these year round. But if they die back, totally fine with it. And look at the flowers together. Look at the colors. Isn't that pretty? So these typically bloom in the spring, and then apparently they're blooming again in the fall, which is fine because we'll have this little show first, and then we'll have the flowers from the Plumbago in the summer. And honestly, I wouldn't even care if these didn't bloom because the foliage alone is enough. And let's just take one more look at the foliage together. Isn't that pretty? And I can't remember if I just mentioned it to you guys, but these get anywhere from 4 to 6 inches tall, I think. A little higher with the blooms, but they do spread out to about 12 inches. So these will create a nice ground cover. And these, if the memories, well, I told you guys, and I'm losing it here, 18 inches wide. So we're gonna have ground cover all along the slope in the front bed over here, and I think it's gonna look beautiful. So we've got the cotoneasters we need to get rid of, the blue star juniper and the verbena. And I'm just gonna kind of leave this section alone right here because, you know, if we shift it a little more, I'll probably wanna bring in some more cotoneasters or maybe a dwarf loropetalum and try that again. But this whole area right here, I'd like to do with the Plumbago and the Ajuga. And this is 1 year in the ground for the Plumbago. And you can see how wide it gets. It's about a foot wide, maybe a little bit wider on point to point over here, but it fills out really nicely. It's not super dense, but it does stay semi-upright. You can see it's loaded with flowers. This one is a little bit further behind. It struggled a little bit over the winter, but it did come back. I was surprised, but I figure we'll just pop in another one here, and then we'll come in right in front and just kind of zigzag some Ajuga all the way through this front bank right here, roughly to about here. And I think that's gonna look really good. I am gonna also come in here before we plant and do a little bit of weeding because we've got some of this Bermuda grass popping up, some spurge. So we kind of gotta clean it all up. And the lawn is trying to make its way into the bed. You can see right over here and here. So we got a little bit of cleaning up to do. So a little bit of weeding, a little bit of transplanting, and then a little bit of planting. I think it's gonna look so good when we're done. And I did bring out the auger. I brought out the 7-inch auger and the 3-inch auger. I'm gonna use the 7-inch for the Plumbago and the 3-inch for the Ajuga. And I just figured we'll just get them in the ground super quick. And I also have our Biotone starter fertilizer. So, all right guys, let's jump into this. My. This thing is huge. This doesn't look like it really did anything in the ground. All right, so we've got all of the plants taken out and put back in nursery containers. I came in and weeded a little bit, just kind of pulled up some dandelions and crabgrass, a little bit of spurge, and now we are pretty much ready to plant. Let me show you real quick what we pulled out. Just a handful of stuff, but quite a bit of it. Dandelions. So this area is looking a little bit cleaner right now. So now you can see I've got a couple holes from where the sedum and the verbena are. We've got the 2 Plumbago over here, and they're not completely straight. This one is a little bit higher. So I'm thinking I may just come down a little bit lower and then a little bit higher. So we kind of have a little bit of a sway. And then right underneath, I'll come in with the Ajuga and just maybe kind of do a little zigzag all the way up to about here. And that way it won't be just like a complete straight line. And then when it fills in, it'll cover the edge of the sidewalk a little bit, kind of soften that. And then it'll kind of, the Ajuga will kind of make its way under the Plumbago a little bit. And then right up in here, I'm gonna leave alone because I'm thinking maybe another cotoneaster and a loropetalum. But I just kind of need to know what we're gonna do with this whole area before I know how much of an angle I can go. So for now, we're just gonna focus on this, the slope. I'm gonna lay them out first just so I can see how this is all gonna go. Right over here, we'll come up a little. All right, guys, I've got it all laid out now. So you can see right over here, we've got the plumbago that's already in the ground, these two. The first one right up against the retaining wall is a little bit further down than the second one. So the ones that we're gonna plant, I brought it down a little bit and then back up again. So it's gonna be a very gentle, like S shape. And then right in front, I staggered the Ajuga. So you can see it's kind of just going boop, 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 all the way down to right in front of the plumbago. And I think this is gonna look really, really pretty. I've got them spaced about 10 to 12 inches apart. The spread on these is 12 inches, so eventually these should touch and create a beautiful, colorful mat. And then some of these can kind of creep in underneath the plumbago and just kind of maneuver their way in here. But I think these two together in this setup, beautiful. All right, guys, let's get these in the ground. We got everything planted, watered in, and mulched. It looks so good. Look at it. Oh, I'm so happy with it. I almost wish I had kind of done this sooner. So we had the two plumbago here already, and we came in with these two, got them planted, and you can kind of see there's a gentle little kind of like a curve, and then it kind of goes up again. And then right in front, we've got the Burgundy Glow Ajuga staggered. And I think it's gonna look really pretty. Once it fills in, you shouldn't be able to see any of the mulch around the Ajuga and hopefully all around the plumbago. But I think it's gonna look really good too, especially in the spring, because the cotoneasters will have their early white blooms, and then if we get like a dwarf loropetalum, it'll have those early fuchsia pink spring blooms. Then the The Ajuga will come in with the blue flowers, or the purpley blue flowers, followed by the Plumbago with these gorgeous true blue flowers. Look at those. So it's going to be really pretty. And if we look at it from the side, you can kind of start to see a little tiny bit of a sway. And then all of the Ajuga over here. And then this section over here, again, we just kind of left it. We left it bare, we left it blank, because we just kind of need to figure out the final curve of this whole section. But I did come in with a layer of mulch too, because when I watered it in, a lot of this soil is like a clay mix, so it literally just poured all the way down the sidewalk like a mud river. So I needed to come in here and cover it with mulch to kind of help keep the soil intact and give it like a week or so for the soil to kind of settle and compact itself, and it should stay in place for future rains. But oh, I am really, really happy with this. Look at it. Isn't that pretty? And it looks so much more organized than all of this chaotic mess that we had over here. I mean, they're gorgeous plants. It was just way too much activity going on here. I like the simplicity of all of this. It looks really good. And this is what it looks like from the backside. Just nice and clean, beautiful, pretty plants. I can't tell you guys how happy I am to have this project done. Just looking at it right now and not seeing all of that chaos and all of those plants just kind of all over the place, but looking at it now, and it's just very simple, very clean, not a little formal, but just so much more put together and tamed. It's very relaxing to me. And you guys, that is it for our video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.